What's up everyone? Welcome back to the channel. I am Brian, and today we're going to be talking about airing down. Specifically about this $30 tool from Boulder Tools that you can buy on Amazon. It's probably the cheapest, most popular tire deflator kit, and I'm going to use it for the first time today and see how well it works. The thing that's interesting about airing down is the first time I went off-roading with friends, I really did not appreciate just how much of a pain it can be. And this toolkit I think is going to really help make the process more efficient, but I also suspect that I am going to have one slight issue with it where I'm still going to want to upgrade from here. Specifically, when I first aired down, I used basically a gauge and the deflate button to kind of periodically check the pressure of the tire as I went. And the problem with this is it actually does not let air out as efficiently as it could. So partway through, I actually switched to basically just using my key to depress the valve stem, and that worked a whole heck of a lot faster. The only issue there is you have to periodically switch from using the key to checking the pressure to figure out where you're at. I suspect these tire deflation tools, which are mechanical devices, are actually going to work much more similar in terms of efficiency to this device than to the key, meaning my guess is it's actually going to let air out a lot slower than if you just depress the valve stem with a key. The benefit is you're not going to have to sit around holding the valve stem with a key for 4 or 5 minutes each tire, especially when you have 38s. It takes forever and it's a super large pain. So if I can set these up effectively, I'll be able to throw them on each tire, let them run concurrently, and while it might be slow on any given one, it should be efficient across all 4. Hopefully they don't take too long. We're gonna run a couple tests when we're done just to see how effective they are, comparing them to using a key. But right now we gotta set these up, so let's do that first. The first step to this process is to deflate the tires down to the pressure that you want to run with off-road. I currently run with these set to 36 PSI on the street. I'd like to run them down to 20 PSI for off-road, so let's air these down to 20 PSI. All right, now we're at 20, so let's confirm that with a second gauge. $20 being on. All right, let's set up the tire deflators. So these come assembled like this. Let's take a look at the construction really quick. We have a top, we have a locking ring, we have a spring, and we have an internal part that lets air out with an O-ring. The way that this works, it's a mechanical device that basically lets the air pressure kind of decide with the spring whether or not it ought to let air out. And the idea is you basically set it to stop at the air pressure that you desire. So we deflated the tire to 20 PSI. We're going to now set this up to stop at 20 PSI. And the way you do that is you first screw the locking ring and the top on to full lock with a clockwise turn. Then you're going to go install this onto the valve stem. So we're going to put it on fully locked on so that no air is escaping, and then we're going to slowly turn the outer piece counterclockwise until we hear some air come out. There it is. Now we got to turn it back clockwise until we no longer hear any air. And that's it right there. So once that's in place, we turn the lock ring until it's snug, and that way it will hold the position that we set in place. And that's it, we're done. So this one has been set up. Let's set up the remaining 3, and then we can try deflating all of the tires. All right, all 4 of these are now set up, and being mechanical devices, I would anticipate that they all would be set up at a pretty similar setting to each other. And in fact, it looks like they are, so that's a very positive sign. Let's run a test and see how long it takes to deflate all of my tires from 36 psi down to 20 using these tire deflators. All right, the first step to running this test is going to be getting the air in the tires back up to 36 psi across the board. I did just have onboard air installed. That'll be a topic for another video, but let's get these tires aired up first. So here is the onboard air setup that we'll go over a little bit later, but I'm done, so we can turn that off because it's showing that all of the tires are currently at 36 psi. So let's go ahead and run this test. All right, in this hand we have all 4 tire deflators. In this hand we have the stopwatch. Let's start the stopwatch and go. It took me about a minute to install them all. And now, I guess we're just gonna stand around and wait. I will tell you though, this is a lot nicer than sitting at each tire with my key and holding it the whole time. They're all still going, so it's been approaching 6 minutes now. Some of the kind of harmonic resonance of the humming has stopped, which I think means they're letting air out a lot slower at the moment. And this is kind of what I was poking at, is being a mechanical device, I would think once it gets to the end, it's going to be letting air out a whole lot slower than it would if you were using a key. But that's why we're running this test, to see if that's actually in fact true. 8 minutes in, still letting air out. The front right, which I started with first, sounds like it's just about done. It's letting air out incredibly slow at this point. All of the tires are kind of quieting down. I think we're almost there. For the purpose of this test, let's just wait for all of them to complete letting out air entirely. So again, that is fascinating. We're about 10 minutes in, and it's just really slowed down in terms of letting the air out. 12 minutes in, and you can still hear air coming out. 13 minutes in, still going. In fact, let's see if we can get a closer view of what's happening here. All right, we're approaching the 15-minute mark, and I think at this point, I don't know if the microphone can pick this up. It's still letting air out very slightly, but it's so negligible, I can't imagine this makes a material difference. I'm going to leave the stopwatch running, and I am going to leave the other ones on the respective tires, but let's pop this one off and check the pressure just to see if we're even remotely in the ballpark. Would you look at that? That's beautiful. That is almost 20 bang on, maybe just a touch above, but really that's exactly what we were after. And I think the reality is you can probably pull these off a lot sooner than waiting 15 minutes, but if you throw them on while you're doing some other task and just leave them there, I think you can trust them to basically stop at the right point. We do have 3 other tires to check though, so let's go do that right now. $20, very nice. Looking good. 2 more to go. And this one, that's interesting. The locking nut appears to have loosened, but it does appear to have stopped, so hopefully it kept the correct setting. Let's check the pressure. Uh-oh. So, little snafu. The locking nut moved on me, and I ran this one too low. Really too low. We got to air this one back up. Something to definitely be aware of with this. Definitely double check that when you screw these on, because you don't want to go so low that you go flat. And this one here, we went slightly under 20. Not ideal, but also not a showstopper. Looks like we're around 18. The one thing they do say is you should constantly adjust these. So in this case, I would probably try to reset this one again. But overall, I think it does what it needs to do very well, and it saves you, the user, from having to sit at a tire for 15-20 minutes airing down each one individually. Overall, that is time well saved and money well spent for, you know, $30. If you even use these once, it's almost worth it. Use it 2 or 3 times and it's definitely worth its weight in gold. Now, the only caveat is there are potentially more efficient options out there. There are Apex quick release valves where you can air a tire down in probably 1 to 2 minutes, but that requires kind of a 2 valve stem setup, or maybe if you just use 1 valve stem, they're still $40 a set, and you have to have the tires off in order to install them. So in the meantime, this is a fantastic alternative. I am pretty impressed with this, understanding what it is, how it works, and fully appreciating its limitations. All right, so the final test that I want to run here is to see just how long it would take me to air down from 36 PSI to 20 PSI using just my key. But in order to do that, we have to air this back up yet again. All right, we're set to 36 PSI. Let's confirm. Yep. Now let's air down using my key as soon as I hit the timer and see how long it takes. One minute in, we haven't even got to 30 PSI. 2 minutes in, we're at around 27, 28 PSI. 3 minutes in, we're at around 24 PSI. 4 minutes in, almost bang on, we are at 20 PSI. And so really, this is interesting because what this is telling me is I could spend 4 minutes a tire sitting there with my key in the tire. Across 4 tires is 16 minutes total, not counting kind of the switch. ballpark 16 to 20 minutes to deflate these myself. It took about 15 minutes using these handy tools right here. So not really much in the way of time savings necessarily, but a whole lot more convenient. Again, overall, money well spent. That's all I've got for this one. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you, and I will see you at the next one soon.